Hello friends, welcome back. In this tutorial, we will study about conflict serializable schedules. A schedule S of n transaction is serializable if it is equivalent to some serial schedule of the same n transactions. Now, how we can say that two schedules are equivalent? There are two definitions of equivalence of schedules which are generally used. One of them is conflict equivalence, another one is view equivalence. So in this tutorial we will study about conflict equivalence and conflict serializability. But first of all, we need to study about conflict operations. So what are the conflict operations? The two operations in a schedule are said to be conflict if they belong to different transactions, they access the same database item, and at least one of these two operations is a write operation. Two schedules are said to be conflict equivalent if the order of any two conflicting operations is the same in both schedules. It will be clear after this example. Now, see these two schedules, Schedule A and Schedule D. Here the Schedule A is a serial schedule. Here you can see that this transaction T1 is executed completely, and after that transaction T2 is executed completely. Here you can see this Schedule A, it is a serial schedule. Now see this Schedule D. This Schedule D is conflict equivalent to the Schedule A. In both the schedules, you can see that the order of any two conflicting operations is same. The order of any two conflicting operations in both the schedules are same. For example, in Schedule D, see these two conflicting operations. Here you can see that transaction T1 writes an item X, and this item X, which was written by transaction T1, it is read by transaction T2. So you can see that these write and read operations, these are two conflicting operations because they belong to different transactions T1 and T2. They operate on same data item X, and one of them is a write operation. So here the order is first T1 writes X, and then transaction T2 reads X. Now in Schedule A also, the order of these two conflicting operation is same. Here you can see that first the transaction T1 writes item X, and transaction T2 read item X. So in both the schedules, transaction T2 reads the item X, which is written by transaction T1. So same as for other conflicting operations in these two schedules. And here see another example. These write operation and this write operation of transaction T1 and T2, they are also conflicting because these both are write operations, and both are writing the same item X, and these both are write operations belong to different transactions. So in Schedule A, see their order. First transaction T1 writes X, right, and transaction T2 writes after transaction T1 writes X. So the same order is here in Schedule D. In Schedule D also, you can see that transaction T2 writes X after transaction T1 writes X. So in this way, you can see that the order of any two conflicting operations is same in both the schedules A and D. Therefore, they are conflict equivalent. So what happens? A schedule is said to be conflict serializable if it is conflict equivalent to some serial schedule. So here you can see that this Schedule D, it is conflict equivalent to Schedule A. Therefore, Schedule D is conflict serializable because Schedule A is a serial schedule and Schedule D is conflict equivalent to serial Schedule A. So Schedule